Hello friends, welcome to my channel Q Analysis, and I'm your host Prashant Kumar. So let's begin with our today's webinar, that is practices to ensure quality. And in today's webinar, we'll talk about the best practices to ensure software quality, and it is applicable not only to software developers. It is applicable to software testers, business analysts, business consultants, project managers, and everybody who is working in IT field and who is looking towards making or who on daily basis they work in the IT field or software development field and they want to create in a high quality software for their clients, customers, or users. So let's begin with our today's presentation. So over here, as you can see in my first slide, I'm having a cartoon slide for you. And this is something which I saw some time back online, and it is very well saying that few guys, they keep on doing their task on daily basis and they keep on doing it on the same way what they have been doing since ages. And if somebody is ready to provide them with a ready-made solution or something which is better or more helpful or high in quality, they are saying, no, we are too busy in doing our regular stuff. No, thanks. So please, my first request to you is always keep your mind open and try to learn new things, because in IT, things are changing on daily basis. As we have seen, if you have gone through, if you're a regular listener to my previous presentations, you might have seen that I talked about the same thing in AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, in test-driven development, in business-driven development, career as a software tester. So in my channel, you'll find a lot many other videos, webinars, wherein I have talked about one thing: always keep yourself open for learning new things. And it is just by learning new things, it's not necessary that you learn through your own experience. You can learn it from others as well. And that's the reason in our today's webinar, I'll share few best practices. They might seem pretty simple and obvious, but trust me, if you practice these best practices on daily basis in your software delivery model, I'm 100% sure it is going to help you a lot. Okay, folks, so let's begin with our today's presentation. Hi, Ram, I can see your chat. Thank you for joining our webinar. Feel free to let me know if you have any question or queries. I'll go ahead and try to reply or answer your question at the end of this webinar session. Okay? So the first point, the first of the best practices is never assume. Always check, verify, validate, and communicate the actual versus expected result differences. Yes, friends. May it be a case you are a business user, or let's say you are a business manager or a product owner, or let's say you're a software tester or a software developer, and then you are working on some of the items, whereas while working you figure out that whatever you are doing or the kind of output you are getting or the product which you have designed, it's working in a little different way than it is expected to do, and you see a little bit of differences. This can happen because of several factors like evolving requirements or dynamic changes or user stories changing, requirement changing. There are certain requests which are being done by client at time to time, because of which when development was taking place and somehow the communication was not proper, something was missed or something was changed, or maybe there were a few set of members working in a team and some of them, they assumed something, and because of that, or let's say three people, they're working on the same product and they have a different way of thought process, different way of understanding thing, and they implemented it in a different way. The three modules developed by them were implemented in a different way, and when the final product or the integrated item was prepared, it is working more or less like the same way it was expected, but not in exactly the same way. So there could be certain deviations or differences. So please, I have learned it very hard way. Never assume things. Whenever I have assumed, it always ended up into something like a production defect. So I have stopped assuming. Being an IT professional, you are not allowed to assume. Don't assume. If in doubt, always ask, communicate, and talk. You can check, verify, and validate whatever you find out, share it, and discuss it, but never assume. Moving on to our next best practices. This is Quality is not about detecting defects and resolving bugs. It is more to do with creating a usable solution for end users. Yes, friends. So most of you have this impression, like I can on daily basis, I keep on getting requests from folks that, oh, what quality is a very subjective topic, or it is a practice, or in quality analysis or software testing, this is what we do using manual testing or using automation testing. We do find bugs, but trust me, it's not always about finding bugs. Let me give you an example. There's a software which has certain bugs, and there's a software which you have developed or your company has developed. It has certain bugs, and you figured it out. One by one, you are figuring all the issues. Defects are being removed, more or less. A large number of defects have been fixed. But then when the actual software is ready and it is provided to the user or the business user who is going to actually use it, they don't find it good enough to use. What is the point? Even though it wasn't having any of the bug, but still it is not usable for the users. So do you think such kind of solution is a good solution for users? No. It is not a high quality solution which can be used by the users. So trust me, quality is not something about just detecting and resolving bugs. Yes, detecting and resolving bugs is a very important part of it, but this is not the only thing. You have to think about users, and you have to think from the user-based scenarios. We'll talk more about in our upcoming slides. Replicate the issue even before even accepting it or starting to work on it. Whenever, like many times I see folks, they get in issues like production issues or user issues on which they have to work, develop it, and make it like a functioning. They have to resolve it. So in order to do that, they just take it, go to the requirement, and they start working on it. No, that is very bad practice. I highly recommend, as soon as you get in a bug or issue, try to replicate it. Try to see how exactly the bug was introduced. What happened when user is doing this kind of action? What exactly is happening? Hello, Abhishek. Hi, I can see your chat. Thank you for joining our webinar. Let's go ahead and feel free to, I keep on saying it to everybody, feel free to share your questions in the chat itself, and I'll answer your question at the end of this webinar. So I was talking about replicating the issues. Whenever you find something which is given to you as a part of your development or testing assignment, go ahead and replicate it first. Try to reproduce it, how exactly the bug was introduced, what steps you have to do in order to replicate it, and in which scenario this issue is reproduced. Once you have all this information with you, then only accept it, and you do your impact analysis, figure out where it was missed, what was wrong, what exactly is happening, what is getting impacted because of this issue, and then start working on it. May it be development, may it be testing. So first of all, always replicate before even accepting any issue. My next point is something like keep acceptance criteria or definition of done clear, simple, and understandable. Nowadays, like previously, we in normal STLC or agile model or software development methodologies, they used to have user requirements, user stories, and certain expected behavior. But nowadays, most of the people, they go in the agile model. So I'll highly recommend always keep your acceptance criteria related to every story very well defined, clear, simple, and understandable, because there are so many people who will be accessing the same user story. Same goes to the epic and the definition of them. You should have a clear definition for what exactly you want to do and what are your expectations. When as a user you want to do this, what are your expectations? So you have to set in such a clear language so that everybody who is reading that document or reading that requirement or user story, they should understand it. It should be in a very simple language, clear language, and understandable for all the stakeholders, may it be the business user, may it be a layman person, may it be a technical person, may it be developer, tester, or any of the managers. So keep it simple, clear, and understandable. With this, we move on to our next presentation slide, and which talks about plan to execute, but do not overplan. Plan only to avoid, handle, and manage risk. Yes, friends. I often see many a time people, they do a lot of planning, may it be in terms of software development, may it be in terms of software testing or execution. They do a lot of planning with a long sheet and all those matrices, data points, and Lots and lots of planning. Trust me, that is of no use. If your software is not delivered at time with a high quality which is being accepted, or it is usable and it can be accepted by the business users, then only you have met your target. If it is not, then whole of your planning is of waste. Okay, so please don't plan excessively. Plan only to avoid or handle or manage the risk. If at all you have any risk, or you foresee any kind of risk, you have any kind of doubts, any kind of problems which may arise, which you can foresee now, plan for those. Plan for the resources, plan for the technology, plan for application, plan for certain dependencies, but don't do excessively. Okay. And then we move on to our next slide. This is a best practice which talks about test early and test often. Nowadays, it is very common, test early and test often. You see, with evolution of continuous integration, continuous testing, and continuous delivery, I created a separate webinar on this topic: CI, CD, and CT, and what is the role of tester in continuous environment, continuous testing environment. You can refer my videos. I'll give the link in the description, or maybe you can refer my channel videos for the same. So, as a tester, when you're finding issues in a early phase of development, it reduces the effort for fixing that. You know that Pareto rule, right? 80-20 rules. 80% of the defects which are found earlier, they are of 20% use, and 20% defects which are found in the later phase of software development, they result into the 80% of the cost, right? So test early, test often, find the issues as early as possible, report it, communicate it, share it with your developers, try to get it fixed, and this will reduce your cost significantly and save your development time. Okay, friends? Now, we'll move on to the next one, which is about enable QA members to maintain their own test environment. QA and dev environment should be replica of production, but ideally separate ones. Yes. Most of the time, I see folks, they are working in two separate environment, or maybe one environment, and with the development and testing, it keeps on taking at the same pace, same time, and it becomes very confusing. Things which are working while they are under development or under testing, as soon as they're released out or rolled out to the production environment, something goes wrong, and then it is figured out, maybe something was missed out, and it was a development and production environment, development and Q environment were same, so somehow everything was working fine. But when it was rolled out into production, some of the script or some of the special codes or some of the special settings was not maintained, because of which the issue was seen. So as a matter of practice, you have to keep a separate QA and dev environment, and also you should enable each and every QA member to maintain their own test environment. They should know each and every details about how to maintain a test environment, and it should be a replica of their production environment, so that when in production everything is going, they should be aware of the fact what exactly they are signing off and whether it will work or not. This is a very important point for every tester. Contextual, online, lean, and dynamic documentation for all stakeholders. Yes, nowadays, many of the companies, they don't go for the documentation, and many of the developmental methodologies, software development methodologies, they also don't promote documentation. But I'm not fully convinced with it, because I believe still we need a kind of documentation, because it is always good. Everybody is on the same page. It helps people to understand, and at the same time, users, they need certain kind of user related document. Something is always good if it is documented in a proper way. So I believe contextual documentation, which is like, you don't have to be very elaborate. Depending upon certain context, you should have for certain user scenarios, that the real world scenario, you should have context-based documentation. Try to keep it online and not offline. There's so many tools, Confluence, Jira, and so many places, SVN or GitHub. You can put in different kind of documentations online, so that everybody can take the latest version, or the dynamic update is taking place for every commit or every change. So you can go ahead and pick it from there, the latest version, latest copy. Nobody has to go and talk to somebody else. Everything can be in sync at that very moment, that very time. Keep it lean. Let's eliminate a non-value add. Yes, I'm a big follower of lean methodologies, so I prefer documentation is something we should be very lean. and should not be excessive documentation. We don't need fat documents. All we need is a lean documentation. We should have necessary and the most important terms, concepts, fundamentals, and whatever things which are very important. We should not be skipped. Only those items to be included, and then it should be dynamic. When I say dynamic, it means it has to be fast regarding the updates, fast regarding the changes, and at the same time, it should send notifications to everyone wherever there is a change made by others. So people who are joining it, people who are watching it, reading it, they should have a dynamic update for all those documentations. And it is true for any kind of a stakeholder, made with the business, made with the managers, made with the analysts, testers, developers, any or support users, anybody. So it should be, a documentation should be something like this. Now moving on to our next slide, it talks about the pesticide paradox. Now, many of you would be aware of this pesticide paradox. If you're not, still I'll explain it for you. Let's say there's a scenario where you have a set of test cases and you keep on running it again and again, let's say integration, or if not, let's say whenever you do integration testing using automation or manual testing, you have a set of test cases and you keep on executing it again and again, same test cases on the build, and after some point of time you find that no more defects are being found. It doesn't mean that your system is bugless or bug-free or defect-free. Trust me, if you're not finding a defect, it doesn't mean that your product or the service is bug-free. It's just that you are unable to recover or unable to discover those kind of bugs which are hidden. And for that, in order to discover those kind of bugs, you need to review and update your test cases. May it be manual test cases, may it be automation test cases, or may it be the business-related test cases. So in order to avoid pesticide paradox, always you have to keep reviewing and updating your test cases. Only in that case, you can avoid any kind of missing out or any kind of failures which are then passed on to the production. So keep reviewing, keep updating your manual and automation test cases as a matter of best practices. The next slide, it talks about absence of error fallacy. Finding error is of no use if user requirements are not met. Yes, friends. So let's think in terms of business users. Just think, a business user, whenever he's using a product, maybe online, mobile, or on his desktop, whenever he's using a product, do you think he really cares about what kind of code, technology, framework has been used in order to develop this software, in order to test this software? I think most of them, they are least interested, right? As a business user, somebody is using a money transferring app, and they're transferring money from one account to other account, and if it is giving them certain issues, some errors, or let's say it is not usable, UI is not good, or whenever they are doing some transaction, it is not, they are not getting the notification promptive and dynamically, or let's say the person to whom they have sent it, they receive a notification, it has been sent and transaction has been completed, but the person to whom they have sent that money, that person has not received any kind of notification, or he has not received the kind of money in his account, and he is still in dilemma. Do you think this is a good thing? No. It's clearly a user requirement missing, like a defect which is caused by user requirements. It is something which is caused by missing defects. So what you have to do, you have to figure out the fact that in any scenarios, in any condition, you should not miss on the user requirements, and you should not only focus on finding defects, you should not focus only on technology, you should also think from the user point of view. And absence of error does not mean that you don't have any defect. It's just that you may or may not have found it. So just don't focus only on the technology side, also focus on the user side. With this, we come to our next slide, which is like, think like a user first. It is also related to the previous slide. Think like a user first. Any activity which is not a value add to customers should be eliminated. As I talked earlier, I am a firm believer of lean methodologies, that is, let's eliminate a non-value add. So If you think you're doing something, maybe in terms of business, maybe in terms of development, maybe in terms of technology or testing, and that is not adding any value to your users, I don't think you have to do it. Or maybe you can cut it down instead of putting a lot of effort, money, or time. It's not worth. So you have to cut it down if it is not adding value to your customer. Let's keep it so simple. Friends, if you need any help with the implementation of lean methodologies, feel free to connect me. You can chat me up in the comment section. Feel free to connect me via LinkedIn or connect me through my blog. I do provide services to different clients and to organizations and to people as well, whosoever is needing my help in terms of implementing different kind of QA practices, or who want to develop as a software tester or a business manager or a test manager. Feel free to connect with me. I do provide my personalized services. And if you want the details, just drop me a message or get in touch with me. Or you can subscribe my channel and you can have free resources. Time to time, I keep on taking webinars wherein I'll help you with different kind of learnings which I have. I share it with you people. With this, we come to the next slide, which is ultimate focus should be on real-world user scenarios. Ensure defect reported is reproducible, well-defined, and well-documented. Yes, friends, this is a very important point. Yeah, your everything, your development, your business users, your testing should always be focused on real-world user scenarios. And if you find any of the defect, any of the error, any of the issues, it should be reproducible. It should have well-defined steps and should be properly documented for others to have a look, understand, and verify what exactly was the problem. So when you see any kind of issue, this might get rejected if you are not properly putting up the steps, you are not defining it, the priority and criticality and the impacted users and different kind of systems which are getting impacted. And if you're not documenting it, it will be very hard for others to keep a track of it. So whenever you find an issue which you think is a showstopper or you think which is causing a problem for the quality of the deliverables, then feel free to document it with well-defined steps and steps to reproduce it. Now, moving on to our next slide, which is talking about communication. Yes, communication is the key. So most of you must be aware of the fact that in a team, quality is fine, working is fine, team is doing their everything in a proper way, but still something is missing, because of which ultimately you see some production issues or some issue with the users. The basic reason, what I have seen in the last 14 years of my IT experience, the basic reason behind every of the issue is some way or the other it is related to communication. Somehow the communication was missed out, or there was not a proper communication, because of which there was the issue. Let's say there was a change in business implementation, it was not communicated properly to the developers, and developers develop depending upon their own understanding, and then testers, when they were testing it, they referred to the updated document, which was not referred by the developers when they were developing it. And now testers, they find that there is an ambiguity or a difference in the expected versus actual behavior. They report it back, but now it is too late, and then you have to fix it. So you know what I mean. These are the certain scenarios because of which I can very well say that communication is the key to your success or to your failure. You have to communicate freely and openly with all the stakeholders. And when I say all the stakeholders, there is no point keeping your business users away. Your business users are also your stakeholders, may it be developers, may it be managers, may it be support providers, may it be engineers, may it be testers, and your business users, they are also a part of your stakeholders. Communicate to them freely, talk to them. If in case you have some issue which you have discovered, there's a production thing which you have discovered, then drop out a mail to your users saying that we have this issue and we are working on it, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But don't hide things, because it is not good for your product, it is not good for your image, this is not good for your company, not good for your organization, as well as for your team and for your users. So communication is the key. Never forget that. With this, we come to the last slide of our presentation, that is talking about quality is a team responsibility. Yes, friends, I believe quality is a team responsibility. So whenever we talk about different kind of ensuring quality or the best practices to ensure quality of a software, quality of our deliverables, or quality of project, then one thing which is very important, that is quality cannot be maintained by one person or one team. It has to be done by everybody who is involved in producing or providing that services. So everybody in a team, everybody in the project, everybody who is involved in the development process or the delivery process, for them at different level, they should maintain quality. Then only the overall quality of the product can be maintained at a higher standards. So quality is a team responsibility. I keep on saying it to everyone. Just don't look upon to a software tester or a quality team for the software testing of quality or a quality of a product. No, it is not a good practice. Always talk to every team member. Try to provide them guidance. Talk about the quality. Share your experience, and then you'll figure out if everybody is very much interested in maintaining a high quality of the work, what they do, high quality of the delivery, what they are providing to their customers or to their team, then I'm pretty sure the final output which will be generated by such a team who is so quality oriented will be a high quality product. So never miss on this part that quality is a team responsibility. Every member of a team is responsible for maintaining quality, and you rise and fall together. If your quality of the product is good, it's good for everyone. If quality of the product is bad, even though you have done an awesome kind of job, but somebody else has not, and because of that, the quality is impacted. So overall, the whole team is having a low quality product. So please, that's my request. Never miss on the quality. May it be individually, may it be as a team. Always work together for achieving a high quality. Quality is a team responsibility. With this, we come to the end of our presentation, end of this webinar. And as you know, most of you know me, I'm a QA evangelist and a software testing enthusiast. I have done my computer engineering graduation and PG specialization in management from Howard University and ICMS Sydney. I have 13 years of work experience. I started initially as a Java developer, then business analyst, test consultant, and finally quality head at major IT firm. I have worked with investment banks, startups across USA, UK, Switzerland, Germany, and India. So with this, I hope you get an idea of exactly what I do. Feel free to get in touch with me for any QA-related query, suggestion, mentorship, and consulting opportunity. I do provide personalized mentorship services to organizations and to folks who are looking to have their career in IT, may it be software testing or software development or any kind of job stream. Feel free to get in touch with me and do subscribe my channel. If you really like the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and see you in my next presentation. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.